how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Bryan Baugh, the creator, writer, artist, everything of Wolf and Batsy. So
that's me, guilty as charged.
Yep. So you got an active campaign right now. So I was like, hey, let's talk about your campaign.
Okay, all right. Well, it's a crowdfunding campaign for issues 10, 11, and 12. So for those who are unfamiliar, I've been doing these comic books, Wolf and Batsy, for some time. The adventures of a werewolf and a female vampire wandering the earth, looking for a place to call home. But everywhere they go, they end up eating people and getting run out of town.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
Yeah. Kind of violent, kind of bloody, kind of gory, full of old-fashioned monster comic goodness. Sometimes they run into friendly monsters who they can help and befriend and have adventures with. Other times they run into bad monsters that want to kill them. So anyway, we've done 9 issues, and I wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign for 10, 11, and 12. And the campaign launched, what was it? Not Wednesday just passed, but the Wednesday before that, the 7th, I believe. And it took off like a rocket. I was amazed. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And it was funded by Saturday morning. So like in 2-3 days, give or take, it really had a great start. I'm very excited about it. I went ahead and did an early test printing of issue 10 with the printer. I wanted to make sure it looked good before I launched into a campaign. But as you can see, issue 10 is finished. And issue 11, which I don't have in front of me, but it's over here. Let me grab it.
Okay. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Wolf and Batsy is a horror comic, and I would say that, and Bryan will correct me if I'm wrong. It's like it's very spiritually similar to like the Hammer films, right?
Yeah, pretty much everything 20th century horror I love. All the old black and white classic horror movies from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. The 1960s European, Italian Gothic horror movies, the Hammer films from the 60s and 70s.
Hold that open again, man. Look. I'm going to expand that.
I don't want to spoil the story.
I was going to say, don't show me a spoily page. I just wanted to look at let me get rid of this comment. Just look at the printing. That looks awesome. The whites looks white and the blacks look super dark. That's all don't show us like the death of Batsy or something like that, But I just think that's great. So what's the name of your comic company now?
Oh, I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah, I love this. Bloody
Weirdo Comics. And the little, actually, you know what? There's a better image of it right here.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that image. I love that image. Tell us about that image.
That is, okay, so.
All right.
Okay, so at late 2022, I was visiting my parents' house, and I was down in the basement looking through some stuff, and I found a box that was marked Bryan's Kindergarten Papers. Yeah. So I opened this up, and there was a whole bunch of my childhood artwork that my mom had saved, literally from kindergarten, which I do have childhood memories of, like whenever there'd be a rainy day or a snow day, sitting inside for indoor recess and just be drawing shoulder to shoulder with my best friend, Brian Fife, just drawing all the stuff we loved, monsters, Star Wars, Godzilla, all that stuff.
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, and one of the drawings in that little stack was this wolf man.
Yeah, I'm just going to make it big so everybody can see that.
There he is.
I love that photo.
Had it for a second there.
I love that illustration.
I'm going the wrong way.
I know, it's so tough to do.
It is so tough to line this up. There he is.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a scribbly little werewolf that I drew in kindergarten, and I just thought it was so funny.
I love
his expression. I can actually send you an image of it if you want to.
Send me an image and I'll put it up here.
Yeah, that'll be better. But
Ryan's on his phone, so he doesn't have access to all that.
Yeah, I'm working on my phone. I need to get a new webcam.
And my computer's on its last legs, so I don't even know. Can you hear it whirring right now? It sounds like it's about to explode.
No.
You got to get a new computer. This is old.
Oh man, I had to get one over Christmas. Let's see.
So here's the link to Wolf and Batsy issues 10, 11, 12. It's on Fund My Comic right now. And Bryan he already reached you reached your funding goal in like 24 hours or something like that.
No,
right?
it was like I reached the goal in like 2 days and a few hours. Something like that. Like we launched it at night, Wednesday night, and then it was funded by Saturday morning. So took off pretty well. Yeah, there it is.
I love this picture. It's just adorable. This is Bryan drawing a werewolf in and he was only third year of college when he drew that.
Right.
I love that illustration. So that's the logo for your company now.
Yeah. And the name Bloody Weirdo is from an illustration that I did. I don't know, when I was in my 30s or something, as an adult. But it was an illustration I did of a bunch of zombies that are all rotted, and I just started painting all this blood all over them, and I didn't know what to call it. And for some reason, I just thought of the Bloody Weirdos. Just sounded like a name of a bad horror movie. So I just always thought that was funny. So I thought that'd be a good name for the publishing label, and use that little wolf man to say, this is monster comics from the heart, going all the way back my whole life, ever since I was a kid. That kind of stuff. It's no politics, none of that social agenda nonsense, nothing.
Well, I think
nothing serious.
I think it's important that Wolf and Batsy fight for monster rights. It's been a neglected political topic in the past 40, 50 years. Nobody cares about the plight of the golem or the werewolf or the dispossessed vampire chicks. So good news to you to be an activist.
Yeah, I mean, to be human is to be their food. I mean, I don't know why we think we have all the rights, But anyway, yeah. So it's monster stories told from the monster's point of view, and these are the 2 new issues on the campaign. Well, actually, there's 3. This is 10, 11, and 12. I just don't have my issue 12s in from the printer yet.
Okay. Issue 12 is about the Invisible Man, so the comic is invisible.
Right.
I just want to say a few things. I put a link in the chat so you could actually join us. I have a few people waiting, but I just wanted to have Bryan and I talk a little bit. And then if you have questions, concerns, fanboy gushing or whatever, I'll pop you in. You'll say your piece and rotate you out for, keep it respectful. I try not to curse on my channel. So, after a couple of minutes, we'll bring in some fans and guests. Who knows who may pop in? Who knows? Maybe a werewolf himself will pop in. And I put up the wrong link because I'm that efficient. But here you go. If you scroll up on the chat and you have access to webcams, I thought it would be fun to keep the conversation going. And here's the link to the Fund My Comic. Go ahead, Bryan.
I was going to show you something else. This is really funny. So I set up 4 stretch goals on the campaign.
Okay.
Assuming that this would take weeks to fund and they would unlock, one at a time over the course of the campaign, and instead they all unlocked like within 2 days. Like the first 3 unlocked in the first 24 hours.
That is awesome, though.
And the first one is a brand new wolf trading card.
Cool.
With his stats on the back. Second one is Batsy trading card.
That is a great picture. Yeah.
All newly designed for 2024. And then we get into the villain cards.
Yeah.
Professor Von Zagzog, the most evil, terrible, demented scientist in Ohio. And here's a fan favorite villain, the Gorilla Suit Maniac.
That's my favorite issue. That without a doubt, and again, I'm picking gems among gems. That I make Bryan blush when I say I look at that and it reminds me of like old Will Eisner artwork. It's just so good. And it taught me stuff about Hollywood. Only Bryan knows about actors who want to be gorilla suit actors. It was a little bit of a niche thing about Hollywood that I didn't know.
Yeah, that was one of my weird obsessions for years. Because I love old black and white movies, and before CGI, the only way to put a gorilla in a movie was to have an actor in a gorilla costume. So I love the Halloweeny aspect of it. I love the fakeness and the goofiness of it, and I also think, especially the old fashioned ones from the 30s, the way they designed those gorillas, they didn't even look like gorillas.
Right. They look like people in gorilla costumes.
Well, yes, but they looked like gorilla monsters, because they over exaggerated the fangs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the snouts are too long and stuff, but they're so cool looking. So yeah, so that's what that story is about. It's about an actor who his dream was to go to Hollywood and become a gorilla suit actor, and well, he failed, and so personal disappointment and failure and poverty drove him to insanity, and he became an axe murderer in a gorilla suit.
Yeah, but at least we can understand his motivations, because that happens to all of us. Who hasn't experienced disappointment and become a murderer among us, right? Right. I just love it. What Geeks Do, who designed the music introduction to my channel, so thank you. He said he only read the first 2 Wolf and Batsies, but he loves it. He loves that you don't hold back on the violence. Well, you're in luck, because if you only read the first 2, you could get all the issues in this campaign.
Yes, that's one of the reward levels. And we have this for digital PDFs as well as print. But one of the reward levels is you can order all 12 issues. So you get the 3 new ones that are on the campaign as well as the previous 9 all in one shot for $40.
For
plus
$40,
shipping.
Yeah, $40. Well, yeah, shipping is an unfortunate, thing that we got to deal with. But $40 for how many comics?
12 issues.
Yeah, I was going to say 13. 12 issues. That's like the best deal in crowdfunding.
Most of them are, well, they're all between 24 and 32 pages.
Yep. You see, you bring in your fans here. H is for Heretic. Wolf and Batsy rules.
Thanks.
Yep. I don't know about you, but I can't take a compliment. I'm Irish Catholic Roman. I'm a Roman Catholic, Irish, Italian. We cannot take compliments, So when people super chat, when people compliment me, I'm like, I get embarrassed. I'd be more comfortable if he told me I was a jerk or an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, that
exactly.
I
can do. I got that Midwest work ethic thing, guilt trip, guilty conscience thing where, I always feel like I'm lazy no matter what I'm doing.
Trading Places, not coming to America. Trading Places had you would know, Brian. Is that the official last gorilla suit actor? Trading Places.
Okay, here's some trivia.
Yeah, I knew you would know. I knew it.
So Trading Places, directed by John Landis, correct?
Right.
Who also directed American Werewolf in London and American Werewolf in London.
Oh,
and yes, and his #1 special effects guy is Rick Baker, who did the effects for American Werewolf in London and also played the gorilla and built the gorilla suits and played the gorilla. I believe he also played the gorilla in The Incredible Shrinking Woman with Lily Tomlin in the 80s as well. He was sort of the gorilla suit guy in the 80s.
Okay.
But it's not what he was famous for, but it's something he loved that he did. He played King Kong in the Dino De Laurentiis 1976.
Okay.
King Kong in the gorilla suit also.
I knew you would know. And not only, but the funny thing is, even though I knew you knew, I still didn't realize how much you knew about, you know what I mean? It's like you surprised me with the depth of knowing.
Well, I've been a Rick Baker fan ever since I was a kid. I mean, reading Fangoria magazine, but yeah, but my favorite gorilla suit actors are the ones from like the 30s, like Charles Gamora, which is, he gets called out in issue 7. I mention him because that's kind of like the character's hero that he wants to be like. But he goes to Hollywood and he's like, there's only so many movies with gorillas in them, and Charles Gamora, the master of the gorilla suit, is doing them all.
Without giving away spoilers to that comic, which I absolutely love. I mean, Bryan, first off, he was one of. I got Wolf and Batsy cold. I backed all the alternate comics and it showed up, and the cover to issue #1 was striking. I forget. I think I was 1 and 2 in one batch. The cover was so striking, so I loved it. And I immediately reached out to Bryan to invite him on my channel. So full disclosure, I'm a unabashed Wolf and Batsy fan. There you go. Look at that. Yeah, I know you. All awkward. You don't know what it. Look at that cover. How can you not want to read that comic right away?
Yeah, I've actually
mailed it to friends to read too. That's how much I like Wolf and Batsy.
I appreciate that, man.
And
Yeah, this one was an interesting one because I have a long history of doing these characters before it got picked up by the publisher here, but I'd been doing them as trade paperbacks that I was self-publishing from like 2008 to 2017. And so when it got picked up by a publisher, it suddenly got introduced to all of their readers, people who never heard of it before. And I had to come up with an original, a brand new issue #1 cover that introduced them to a whole new audience. And so I went with this idea of them just standing right there, face front, right in the middle,
right.
With the moon.
And I love the orange and yellow. It's so striking. It evokes like a Halloween and like sundown. It's
yeah.
And you could get and you could still get your graphic novels here at Bryan Baugh Net, right?
The graphic novels I did them through Indie Planet, so they're still available on there. I don't have any in stock with me right now, but you can order them online at Indie Planet. Just go on Google and put in Wolf and Batsy Indie Planet, and they'll come up. There's 4 volumes of the trade paperbacks, the original ones.
Hal Deer, one of my 2 moderators, just said he backed the digital tier for 1 to 12.
Oh,
yeah, you can get physical, you can get digital.
Yeah. And I should show you one other thing too. I also do the blank cover commissions. So.
Oh yeah, these are great. I have one of these too. Oh, if I was only professional and prepared, I would have had these. What Geeks Do says, I want all the prints. I'll be getting them. Thank you. So yeah, they're great comics. The Gorilla Suit Maniac is a one and done, meaning it's a self-contained story. And then there was a 4-issue series, the Fall of the House of Zagzog, and now this is like defending the House of Zagzog.
So I have on one of the rewards too is we have these blank covers. This is issue 7. It's the same comic book as the other one I just showed. The Gorilla.
Show that first page. Show that splash page. Look at that. That is outstanding. Yeah, I'm going to make it big, so don't disappear it yet. That is outstanding. I love that image. I wouldn't hang it up because it would freak me out, but I do love it.
This is the funny part. It says case file number 9 million. They called him the Gorilla Suit Maniac. So anyway, it's issue 7, but it has a blank cover. And if you order this reward, you can request for me to draw an original drawing of Wolf by himself, Batsy by herself, or Wolf and Batsy together. And I have examples of that. Some of the ones I've done in the past.
Yeah, you did that on a drawing stream, right? I think we saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go on my YouTube channel, you can see me draw these live. But it's the same thing. It's just you order this.
Thank you, Marcus.
And then I do this.
Marcus is waiting backstage. He wants to come on, but I wanted you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I wanted you to talk about everything first.
Well, but that's one of the reward levels is you can get the.
That is awesome. I love that.
One of a kind.
My wife saw you sent me some artwork. My wife wants to color it in. I'm like, don't you touch it. Don't you touch it. Color it in with crayons. We got a question for you from Goody Two Shoes. Do you plan on going after issue 12? Found out you're a Buckeye. Hail Wolf and Batsy. All of a sudden, I forgot how to read in the middle of that sentence.
Do I plan to keep going after issue 12? Well, a few weeks ago, I was saying future plans depend on the success of this campaign, but it hit its goal so fast, I think I probably should.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to speak for you, but yes, we at least want an issue 13, right? You got to have issue 13 for.
I am halfway done working on issue 13 now. And it's a fun one because to me, it seems like, the number 13 is associated with horror. So an issue 13 is a milestone for a comic book series, for a monster comic. Right. So the whole story revolves around bad luck and yeah.
What do you say? I ordered the first for my birthday. Okay, cool. Oh, for your boyfriend on his birthday. Good for you. There you go. Here's the link for Indie Planet, for Wolf and Batsy. You could order. And just so you're clear, these graphic novels haven't been in the comics yet. This is different material, right?
Okay. The 4 trade paperbacks. The first one was broken up into chapters and reprinted in the ongoing comic book series in issues 1 to 6. So everything in this set of the original of the comic book series after issue 6 is brand new stuff that's never been printed.
Okay, I misunderstood.
In the trade paperbacks, volume 1 was reprinted in issues 1 through 6, and volumes 2, 3, and 4 have not been reprinted anywhere else.
Cool.
I don't know if that's confusing or not, but
no, it makes sense to me. I just naturally look confused.
It is confusing because basically I was doing these characters on my own and self-publishing them as trade paperbacks for years, and then the publisher picked them up and wanted to do an ongoing comic book series, and I took volume 1 and broke it up into chapters to make the first 6 issues. So, and I did do some art revisions and the new covers. So there is artwork in these single issues that is different, or artwork that you don't get in the trade paperbacks. Also, it's kind of a revised edition, I guess you'd say.
Is that something all artists want to do? Is always fix, tinker?
Yeah, you can. I mean, even Frazetta did that. It's like with some of his paintings, and it's a weird thing because it's like there's stuff in there where I go. I mean, personally, I like seeing the evolution of an artist as they grow and get better over time. So in a way, I don't mind it. And if there was stuff in there I was okay with then I should be okay with it now and just say, well, that's the old stuff, right? But there are certain ones that just there's certain ones that are just like sore spots where you're just like, I didn't even like that back then. I need to redraw.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Because you could drive yourself crazy. You could never stop taking.
Yeah. You'd end up like a tiger chasing its tail. You'd just go forever. So I didn't want to do too much of that stuff, but I did revise some of the weak spots that I just never liked myself in the new issues. So it is a different experience reading the two. But it's only volume 1 of the trade paperbacks that's been reprinted.
Okay. We have feel free not to answer. So that's up to you. Why did you leave Alterna?
Why do you assume I left? I didn't have much choice in the matter, but let's just chalk it up to creative differences. That's the diplomatic thing to say, right? And leave it at that.
Yeah, there you go. There's the answer.
Yeah,
it's not my story to tell. So, anything I'm going to bring in? I guess if we got people popping in, we'll stay for like 5 minutes, ask a couple of questions, and we'll bring in the next guest. But we got Marcus, who's one of my moderators. Who?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey.
Every time I turn on the camera,
okay,
Marcus.
so I had a question that was already asked. That was only brought up by seeing other publisher on another stream, which he didn't name anything, but 2 + 2 = 4, and it just occurred to me. So I'll ask another question. Do you work traditionally or digitally?
I work here. I do my pages traditionally. They're all drawn pencil and ink, ink brush on 11 by 17 bristle boards. And then I color the covers on Photoshop digitally so that I can get that old comic book coloring style, with the flat color.
Right.
Colors on the covers, they are outstanding.
I thought it was traditional. I could kind of see the computer, especially if people put in grays, you can really see how perfect those things. And then there's just little imperfections in the traditional work that you can always catch that gives it a little more personality, because I work traditionally.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love inking with the brush because it's so unpredictable. I feel like you're half telling it what to do and half responding to whatever it decides to do.
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely true.
That's the part that that's the part that I was scared of before I started doing that. But once I got used to it, then it was the fun part,
Oh, I can't, even with the brush pens, I have to have the regular brush. The brush pens are still not the same. I have to get either Winsor Newton Series 7 or the 8404,
100%.
the Raphael 8404. 100%. I have one back here. Yeah, that's it.
And I like these with the really long handle.
Yeah.
I don't know why. For some reason, this gives me a more sense of a control. When
I'm going to turn off my camera and go upstairs and have dinner. You guys continue with the art stuff.
Yeah, I like the art stuff. Yeah, it's spoken like the true writer.
Loving it.
I'll show you one more thing if I can find it here. Where'd he go? See, now you're getting me all nerdy into the art.
No. I love this kind of stuff. This is all comic book talk, man. This is great. And I appreciate that Marcus asked some artist questions because I never would think to ask this stuff.
Oh, here he is. I always show this one off because it's so funny. Look, this isn't even a brush. This is a broom.
Oh yeah, look at that.
It's so old. It's got so much dried up, clotted ink in there. But this is like my secret weapon.
Really?
Because it's so old and I've been using it forever and it's so broken in and stiff and messed up. It's like
you can get a great dry brush that, especially if you do horror, everything with black and shadows. John knows I end up putting shadows in everything. I assume nothing I ever do is ever going to be colored because it never was colored before.
Right.
So it's always a shadow to pop out the characters so you can see them. And then if it gets colored, that's even better.
Yeah.
So
you know.
Now that you made me think about this art, Bryan, do you draw with a pencil and then go over it with ink?
Yeah, my pencils are really loose because I know what I'm going to do. And also, if I penciled too tight, I would get bored.
Like regular old number 2 Ticonderoga
I
pencil?
have that problem.
More like this.
I use a Ticonderoga.
Mechanical pencil.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
But it's got a real soft 2B lead in there.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's real soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use, I started sketching out with a blue pencil because somehow I just started doing it like last year. It freed me up. And then I'll do a Dixon Ticonderoga 2.5 and some HB, and then I'll ink it. And then it drives me nuts because I'm light boxing the thing. So by the time I make the comment, I feel like drawing the page 3 times. I'm like, I've had enough of this thing.
Yeah.
I looked at it a week later.
I know you explained it to me before, but what is light boxing it? I know you told me before, but
this thing.
Yeah, I have one just like that one. Yeah, it's on my desk.
And what's it do? It shines.
So what it does is, if you make a really great sketch, and you don't know if you can redo that sketch or layouts, like this last one I did, like the page I did for you, it was really loose layouts first, and you put it on a light box, and that way you can recreate that image on the Bristol board. Because sometimes you draw on a Bristol board and you erase, and suddenly you got this expensive Bristol board, and you've now erased a hole in it. You know, we're not all like we were talking about, like John Romita or John Buscema, they go right, or John Romita Jr. or Andy Smith, they go right on the board and just draw. And I'm like, oh my God. But a lot of the artists feel much better on like copy paper. Whether it's smaller and they blow it up on a copy machine to 11 by 17, or they draw it 11 by 7. I've done both. And then you light box it over. The danger of that is if you're going to be stiff, so what you do is you sketch it out, and then I erase it lightly, and I kind of redraw it and fix things. And I'm trying to lighten that part up because I have too many steps.
Yep.
And then when you have too many steps, it slows down, and
So what I do is, let me change that. So one thing that I do is I sort of work digital, traditional, digital, because I'll do my page sketches on Photoshop.
I think that's good.
It's so easy to do the layout and make sure everything fits, and put my dialogue in there, in the balloons on the sketch page as like my first step. So I know for sure my dialogue fits. And so then what I do is, so I'll just show you an example. So like right now I'm working on an original art commission of Audrey 2, the plant from Little Shop of Horrors, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
So I drew the sketch on Photoshop and then I printed it out like this, right? This is just a printout of the digital. This is just a printout of the sketch on digital. These are the perspective lines. So I take that, lay that on top of here, right?
Yeah.
Turn the light on. Put my real drawing board on top of it. Trace with the pencil this onto the real drawing board, and then pencil and ink that.
A lot of inkers like. Graham Nolan is doing his pencil layouts because he does it loose too, and he wants traditional work more. The other books he's done and he'll do that on a computer, print them out on blue line onto the Bristol, then ink them so it's a traditional thing. The ink is really the final thing. I just haven't done enough work to have graduated to the computer part after all these years, so it's now all traditional, and I can see how much. But you could get OCD with the computer and keep doing line, so that's another thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
that's I mean, that's the last step is after I ink the page and it's dry, then I scan it into the computer, pull it up on Photoshop.
And then color it, right?
Yeah. If I'm going to add
Yeah, you
color,
have
color, go into it, clean up all the, no matter how much you clean the scanner glass, there's always little microscopic bits of dust and stuff. So I give it a clean up. We're on Photoshop, and then change the words around or whatever I want to do. But I can change things around if I need to. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. If anybody else is waiting,
well,
they can.
Thanks for your question.
We talk about how to do comic art all night. Nice to meet you too, Bryan. Thank you.
Oh, you never met
Take it easy, John.
I just assumed you knew. This is Marcus.
I've seen him on streams before, but I never.
I just
met. I mean, this is how people meet now, right? So,
right? Yeah.
I never met John in person. I feel like I know him, so there's that.
It's funny because I talk to Bryan so much, I forget that we never actually stood in the same room. All right, I'm gonna bounce you out, Marcus. If anybody else wants to, the link is right up here. If you scroll up to the top, you could hit the link, come in, ask Bryan a question. I just think it would be a fun way to do it. But all right. So I see. Every time I realize how difficult it is to make a comic, I learned that there's a whole nother step. Like I just thought you drew in the pencil, you inked over it, but now you gotta draw, you gotta light box it, you gotta draw it again, print it. Man, no wonder it takes so long to make a comic.
Well, but I've been doing it. Well, here's the thing. I mean, you do it so long, you just get a system down. You don't even think about it. Really, it doesn't. I don't even think about it. It's just part of the process. Just go through the motions.
How long does it take you to do a page? Till you have a blank page till it's one full complete page where you're like, all right, this is done.
Gosh, I mean, I've never timed myself. So it's impossible. It's really hard to say. And also I never work on one page at a time. I usually have like 4 pages going at a time.
Oh.
And because the ink gets wet and I can't, it gets to a point where I've like painted myself into a corner. If there's no place to put my hand anymore, I'm going to smudge.
Thing I wouldn't think of. You'd be smearing all the ink
So set that one aside, grab the other one and work on that a little bit. Put that aside, grab the next one, work on that a little bit. So I always keep 4 pages going in rotation or commission mixed in there, whatever.
Wow! You see, I didn't even think of that. Literally painting yourself in the corner. You'd be smudging and smearing if yeah.
And I do it weird ways too. I mean, I don't have a pattern. Like sometimes I'll have like 4 pages that are all laid out from the light box on the final boards. They're all in pencil or just loose pencil. And I'll have like, a 4-page sequence with all the different characters on there. And especially when there's a lot of characters in there, or 3 or 4 different characters all involved in a scene, sometimes I'll say, okay, I'm just going to go through all 4 pages and draw all the Batsies. Then I'll draw all the wolves. Then I'll draw all the whoever,
Keep the look consistent, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. It keeps me keeping them consistent. Other times I'll just panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, next page, whatever. But it's hard to say. I mean, and also it's really hard to measure how long it takes to do things when you have a 6-year-old who's always interrupting. I
always ask this when people mention their kids. I don't want to bring up kids unless they mention them first. But does your child artistic? Is this something that that's cool?
Yeah. I mean, every weekend she'll say, "Daddy, I want to make a book." And my job is to take like 5 or 6 pieces of just regular, white 8.5 by 11 printer paper, fold them in half, staple them, give them to her, and she'll just spend all afternoon drawing a little story of her own. And she's got.
And you act like an editor, and you yell at her, tell her it's crap, start over.
Right. Throw it out the window.
Frank Miller was told 10 times that is no good. Neil Adams wouldn't accept this.
And she's got a whole Tupperware bin now that's just overflowing with these little books she's made of all her little stories. She'll make 4 on a Saturday afternoon. She's faster than me.
If we make it to $15,000 in your campaign, we'll throw in some
right.
Bryan Baugh's daughter's comics too.
Right. You'll get an extra comic about Mr. Blueberry gets a haircut. That's her kind of stories.
Mr. Blueberry gets a haircut. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention this. Your special big tier get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so much fun.
Go ahead. You can describe it.
Okay, it's yours. Yeah.
You want to do it or you want me to do it?
Okay, you do it. It's yours.
Okay. So the big reward level on my campaign is it's called "Want to Get Killed by Wolf and Batsy." So I do original art commissions all the time, and all different sizes. But I thought it'd be fun to have a reward level where it's a commission, original art commission, 11 by 17 of you getting killed by Wolf and Batsy, getting killed by Wolf, or getting killed by Batsy, or getting killed by both of them. Choose your fate. And there's an option for bloody, gory, or extra bloody and gory, depending on how you want to die. All you gotta do is send me a photo reference of yourself so I know how to draw you. But yeah, that's the big one. Obviously it's an original piece of art. It's a one of a kind. So it's priced consistently with my normal large commissions.
You will actually get the print. You will get the one and only print for your original artwork.
And you never know. I might use it in one of my books sometime, because I do like to take some of my commissions and print them sometimes. So.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't, again,
and then you'll own a printed piece.
I commissioned a Wolf and Batsy hanging up in my comic book room, and if I was smart, I would have brought it out here to show off. And I love it. I think it's so good. When I got it open, I couldn't stop smiling. Like it wasn't, you didn't half-ass it, you didn't rush it. It was excellent. I got you and Josh Howard, two of my favorites, just gracing my comic book room. And again, later on, I'll put a link to this on Twitter, and I'll put pictures of them so people can actually see what I'm talking about. Again,
and I will add to that, because some people have asked about it. If you don't want to get killed by Wolf and Batsy, but you do want a large 11 by 17 original art commission of them, you can request that too. We can leave you out of it, and you can just get an original 11 by 17.
Or you can send a picture of your ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. your old boss, anybody. Well,
sure.
Welcome back. You'll kill anybody. There you go.
It's a mercenary way to make a living, this comic book stuff.
It's for therapeutic reasons. Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
Yeah, I when I was in Albuquerque, I used to go to the gun range all the time. Back it's a cowboy town. Literally, my college had a hitching post for horses. So it's no joke. It's a cowboy town, and they would have a sign: "Leave your guns at the bar." Bars. I'm sure it was a relic, but I'm sure it meant something once in a while. But at the shooting range, people would, Osama bin Laden or whatever. They actually had a sign: "No, you can't blow up pictures of ex-wives and girlfriends to shoot at." That's where they drew the line. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah, so there you go. But Wolf and Batsy will do that. They'll a meal is a meal is a meal.
Sure.
So do you have you're going to continue with Wolf and Batsy? This is your forever project. You don't have like issue 20 is the last issue, and then you're going to change. Like you'll tell the story for years and years.
Yeah. I don't have. I have ideas about the last Wolf and Batsy story, but I don't have any desire to do it anytime soon. They're too much fun. They're my favorite toys to play with. So I'm not planning on killing them off anytime soon. I have a lot more story ideas in mind. Also, I kind of really want to take those other 3 trade paperbacks, the ones we were talking about on Indie Planet, the old self-published ones that I did, and maybe break them up and make them part of the ongoing series as well.
I would love that. I would love that.
With revisions also to update them a little bit. So again, it'll be a new experience for people who've read it before. But
so
I just want to make it. It's part of the ongoing story, so I feel like it needs to be in there.
Yeah, and I'm obsessive compulsive, so I want to see them all in the same form. It's just the way I am. Plus, I like my floppy comics.
Well, there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like you who are that way.
I like trade paperbacks too. Don't get me wrong. I just like comics, but I love my floppy. That's just the way I am. This is your first campaign that this is everything. Kit and Caboodle, you ran this. How do you like it? How's it going for you? Any unforeseen difficulties that you didn't realize?
Well, setting up the campaign was a lot more challenging than I expected. There's a lot more, especially for a first time doing it. I thought I could hop on there and just, fill it out like I don't know, like a online profile type thing or whatever, and insert some images and it'd be fine. But actually, there's a lot of little technical things you have to sort out. And I ended up making a list of like tasks to complete before I can call this thing done. And I just had to make myself go through them all and get them all done over it. And I probably worked on it for often. Granted, I was only working on it a few hours here, a few hours there every night or every other night or whatever. But it took me at least a month just to get through the whole thing. Well, I wasn't working on it every single day.
Right,
It was like piecemeal, but just trying to keep myself on it. And yeah, it probably took a whole month just to set it, because it's not just a matter of answering all the questions, filling in all the information, blah, blah, blah. But it's also, if you want it to look nice, you got to put images in there.
Right.
So those images have to be created, and a lot of them are existing artwork from the comics, but I wanted to make new Photoshop images of them and size them and get them in the right, you know what I mean, like the dimensions that would fit the website. And
not only that, but now you're talking to the printers. You got to predict how much it's going to cost. You got cards made. This is all logistics stuff.
Well, the real tricky part for me was, I mean, I had a pretty easy time with friends who did some nice looking books recommending the printer that they liked, and that was easy. But then it's like trying to figure out, okay, the cost of printing and shipping, what's a fair price tag to put on that to cover the cost of printing and still, give me a little bit of profit too, so it's worth doing, because that's the way I did my trade paperbacks when I self-published them. I mean, I did those 2008 to 2017 before this whole crowdfunding thing was really commonplace. So I was paying for those out of, just money from my day job. And the way I did it was, you price them just right where you get a little profit back, and then you use those profits to print the next batch. And it just, one leapfrogs over the other until basically the books are paying for themselves. And that's how you get it going. So that's what I'm trying to do here if I can. I'm taking it baby steps. One thing
I'm just looking at Michael Bancroft, who he has a big YouTube chat, just showed up in the chat. Looks like he brought his posse with us. All of a sudden, a million people just showed up. So I appreciate that. I'm sure Bryan appreciates that. And while we got Michael Bancroft, this is the Fund My Comic. This is Wolf and Batsy campaign. Bryan, he set up a goal. He reached the goal of, what did he say? Less than 2 days.
It was a little over 2 days. I launched it at like 8:00 at night on Wednesday the 7th, and by Saturday morning it was fully funded. In fact, it was over. It was like 108% funded because someone ordered one of the commissions that just bumped it right over the 100% mark.
There you go, Bryan. Look at the Michael Bancroft. He would love to have you on the show.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Reach out to me in DMs or email or whatever, and let's set up something. That'd be great.
Bryan's a great guy. Yeah, he showed off some Renzo's artwork last Saturday night, and I was about to say something that I realized would get me in trouble. I was going to say I was foolishly on a date night with my wife, and I missed it. And I like to say, Bryan, you picked up one of the things we put in the artwork that tried to drum up. You were the first person to comment on it, so bravo. I read the first 4 Wolf and Batsy, phenomenal stuff. There you go.
Oh,
Little movies and brewskis. That sounds like a great weekend. Right?
It does.
Wolf and Batsy's this. Oh, Marcus Keller Group. Oh, and Marcus just backed.
Oh, thank you. Awesome.
Yeah.
We are teetering right on the $4,000 mark.
Yeah.
We're like 3,900 something. Last time I looked. I'd love to see it get past the next.
Me too. I think this is exactly what crowdfunding is made for. This is I'm going to gush and Bryan's going to get embarrassed because we just already established that we don't like compliments. Bryan is a passionate creator. He's talented, and it's a phenomenal comic. In a normal, healthy comic book industry, Wolf and Batsy would be in every comic book store. Bryan would be at conventions with lines, but we all know the comic book company, the comic book industry is weird. It's weird, and this this market developed this whatever you want to call it format, crowdfunding, and this is the kind of stuff that it's made for. This is a top tier comic, one of my favorite comics, and I'm a comic book lunatic. I really do. And I told Bryan at lunch, I said, "You're going to get to 5,000." And he was like,
it's hard to imagine, but it would be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the more, like I said, I printed up the first 25 test copies just to make sure they looked good. So I've got 25 copies already that I just did out of my own pocket just to have the first little batch and make sure they're cool. But the purpose of the campaign is to fund a larger print run.
Yes.
And and be able to sell them, over time too, and if there's any extras or whatever. But
and again, it's the campaign. It's what is it like? I forget. If you just want the 3 issues, how much is it? I forget because I backed already. And
I don't have it in front of me. I should know this stuff.
it's like yeah. But you could get all. You could get all 12. I'm sorry.
I have breaking news right here. It just hit. It just went over 4,000.
Nice.
So whoever did that, thank you very much. I was hoping to see that.
Yeah, Michael Bancroft brought in his posse. So thanks. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. So yeah, so the different levels, you can get the new 3-ish. You can get the 3 new issues as digital PDFs, and that's $3. $1 a comic because they're just digital, right? $15 for the 3 new issues in print.
Yeah, I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, $15 for 3 brand new comic books drawn by the creator. No middle. It's awesome, awesome.
Issue 10 and 11 are both 24 pages. And issue 12 is 32 pages.
There you go. $15. That's. I was about to say something mean about somebody else, but I'm not here to be mean to anybody else. But the impulses are in my brain. I'm getting better at filtering myself. But again,
so
you could get
that's 80 pages of story.
Right. You could get all 12 issues for $40. It's the best. I'm not even joking. It's the best deal in crowdfunding.
Yeah, that's the other option. You can get the entire series, issues 1 through 12. In PDF, it's $12, and in print, it's $40. And most of those issues are 32 pages, 30 pages. A few of them are 24 pages. I like to cram as much story as I can into my comics.
And not only that, you got ads, you got letters. Yeah.
Yeah, and for anybody who hasn't seen that, I'll show that.
This cracks me up. I stop and I just love this.
So every issue, because I'm in love with the old comics and because I grew up on the old comics,
yeah,
I had to put in my own ads. So we have Captain Bloodclot's famous novelties.
I love
this. You got your X-ray glasses, fake vomit. You have this is one of my favorites.
Yes, I love that.
The Split Dog.
Don't tell them where. Does anybody in the chat know where that's from? Let's see if anybody knows where that's from.
Who knows where this joke comes from? The Split Dogs.
I recognized it instantly. That's
the line is for veterinarian schools. If you know that, we're on the same team. Let's see.
Girly cartoons.
Yeah, girly cartoons, exploding cigars, or it's actually exploding the guy's head. I like this one, maybe because I can never line this up.
I know it's tough to do.
Scary monster hands. Maybe because I grew up with a little sister terrorizing her.
You had one get a dead monkey.
What's that?
Get a dead monkey in the mail.
Yeah, human eyeballs for optometry students. Why can't I line this up?
I know it's tough.
There we go. That one. I like that one.
There we go. Somebody in the chat. H is for heretic says Return of the Living Dead. That's where it's yes. One of the best. I loved what the elder veterinarian guy. I can't remember his name. The actor. James Sheridan. One of the best.
No, James Karen.
James Karen. One of the best performances. panicky screaming on the verge of losing his goddamn mind. And just when they said cut, I could just, okay, I'm going to go check my stocks now. And then, okay, rolling. Like, how did he maintain that level of insanity it is awesome. I don't know. I gush about that movie. Yeah. I
actually did an original art commission for Beverly Randolph, who played Tina in the movie. She's the girl that got chased by the tar man. She emailed me out of nowhere some years ago and said she saw my artwork online and asked me to do an original illustration of her being chased by the tar man. So I did. Wow. I got to do it for her. Yeah, that was really
so cool.
Yeah, I've done a couple of things like that. There's a movie from 1980 called Madman. It's a serial killer movie, one of the lesser known ones, but a really cool
I don't
one.
think I've seen that one.
About Madman Mars. And one day I got home from work and there was a message on my answering machine, back when we had answering machines. And it was this guy says, "Hey, my name's Paul Ehlers, and in 1980 I played a character called Madman Mars in a slasher film called Madman. Saw your artwork online. I'd love to get a drawing of the character." For real. I don't know who he got my phone number from a guy who I'd done a commission for, who was supposedly the world's biggest Madman collector. Anyway,
that's the thing about the internet. You think you're the only one who collects this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun, weird trivia.
That is awesome. So you were obsessed with horror movies as a kid. Now, what traumatized you? Instead of, it's like me, I get superheroes and I'm a normal person. What happened to you that traumatized you as a kid to be into horror movies? Like, were you locked in a room one day with like a Frankenstein mask or something?
You know what? Nothing traumatized me. I was just fascinated with monsters and special effects, because when I was a little kid, my dad would watch the old black and white monster movies on TV on Saturday afternoons. And he'd always say, "Come here, Brian, watch this one." And it'd be Frankenstein or the original King Kong or Wolfman or whatever. And he'd say, you know how they did that? You know how they made Frankenstein? It's a normal guy, but they put makeup on him, You know how they did King Kong? He's only 18 inches tall, but it's a model, and they move him a little bit and take a picture and move. He would explain that stuff to me, and he got me fascinated with it. And then he bought me books and in the late 70s was a golden age for books about classic horror movies with lots of big pictures. And even for kids, there was pictures of there was books with called Movie Monsters,
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and they would tell the little behind the scenes secrets in language children could understand. And I had those books and I thought they were the coolest things and I was fascinated. So then I started loving to watch the movies. And then, was it 1979? Alien came out.
Oh, yeah, great.
Now, I have to tell the story real quick.
Sure.
So my mom and dad leave me and my little sister at my grandparents' house to be babysat while they go see this new movie, Alien. And that night, when they came back to Grandma and Grandpa's house to pick us up and take us home, my dad says, "Brian, you have to see this movie." He said, he goes, "There's a monster in this movie. It's the most realistic monster in any movie ever. It's just a guy in a rubber suit, but it looks way more realistic than Godzilla."
Yeah.
So I saw Alien in first grade when it was brand new. And I was not scared because my dad set me up as, "Wait till you see this. It's just a guy in a rubber suit, but it looks so real." So I just had this understanding of the difference between fantasy and reality, and I wasn't scared. I was just fascinated by the magic trick of it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My older brother's into horror the way I'm into comics, and he like you, he can talk about the people who make the practical effects, and just like you, he's not interested in the computer graphics stuff. He wants to see the tubes making the blood, and like the old Cronenberg, the pulsing veins, and I gotta say that there's a charm to that. Like even in Star Wars, when I watched the original, you could see that there's something realistic to it, a gravity, a mass to the old X-wing models flying through. And now when it's CGI, it I don't know, it could fool the eye, but it can't fool the brain. There's something that just doesn't look right.
Yeah, I would make a terrible movie critic because I kind of love everything. I don't have a lot of the big stickler issues on that stuff. But I will say, like when I watch, here's the weird thing. Like I never needed special effects to look real, to be cool to me. Like because I grew up watching like Ray Harryhausen movies with the dinosaurs and things like that.
Tell me Sinbad's not the greatest.
Yeah.
The 70s.
But I love those. And
Jason
there's
and the
something
Argonauts. I
about
just watched that again recently, and I still love it.
yeah, and there's something about the stop motion puppets. It's like even as a kid, they're not real, but there's something hyper real about them that's better than real. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's more human than human.
So I don't know.
You're gonna give me the side eye right here, but I heard that Ray Harryhausen, whose name I always butcher, his assistant did a stop motion animation effect for the semi porno movie Flesh Gordon.
Yes.
So I had to go see that to see the there was like a skeletal beetle-esque creature. Yeah, I only watched that movie for the skeletal beetle creature. Yeah. But it was awesome.
I want to say that was Jim Danforth that did that.
I'll take your word for it.
But it could be the other guy whose name is escaping me right now. I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, there were.
I like you said, there's something about it. Like when it puts its foot down, you believe. Mm-hmm. You're looking at it. It's a toy. It's a puppet. It's a whatever. Mm-hmm. But there's something about it. And then the forced perspective of the actor Talos, the big robot, that undo the heel and the
yes.
Oh my God, did I love that? And I tell you, man, the fighting the skeletons, you could see that the swords aren't clanking. They're not. But there's something about it that is just, I don't know. Is it because we were kids when we saw it? Like, you have a little daughter. Did she ever see? The Argonauts. What did she think?
Well, I've not shown her Jason the Argonauts.
That's maybe too scary for your daughter.
I've shown her the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
Oh,
which is the one with the big Cyclops fighting the dragon.
And that's Jane Seymour, right? That's her?
No, you're thinking of Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. I'm talking about the first one. It did have a skeleton. He sword fights one skeleton in that one. And she watched that and she was fascinated.
Yeah. So I guess it is, because sometimes when you watch like an old movie, like I got friends and I'm like, oh, the original Star Trek is so good. Okay, I'm gonna get, and then like they turn it off halfway through. Like, yeah, Kirk kicks this guy and he hits the wall and the wall's shaking. It's paper. Yeah, but it's still. Don't you believe that that's a ship? Don't you believe?
I'll go one better than that. Here's what a sucker I am when I'm into a movie. I think it's 1941, House of Dracula, or is it 1942, House of Dracula? When John Carradine as Dracula turns into a bat, and they literally used Walter Lantz animation, like cell animation.
Yeah.
The transition from his cape up to the bat wings is literally done as a cartoon, but just for a second, just fast enough to get the idea across, and then they have a rubber bat. I totally buy it when I'm watching that movie and I'm in the groove of it.
I don't know if I buy it or I want to buy it, and that works just as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I know what you're talking about. They actually like draw like an animated bat. What was the name of that movie? Because I remember seeing that.
Well, House of Dracula, they used that effect, and also Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yeah, they did that.
The bat transformations, they used animation like that, and I don't care. I just love it. I'm having too much of a good time to care.
Michael Bancroft, if you're still in the chat, here's a link. You could pop in and talk with us if you're still in the chat and you want to say something. And also other people. Marcus was in earlier. I was trying to give people an opportunity to come in, talk to Bryan. Here we go. There's your Bryan Wolf Batsy. I don't know. I got like three thoughts in my head that are crashing into each other. I think horror movies are making a comeback, and part of it is because there's something about horror movies we all love, and also I think horror movies are probably like the cheapest movies to make. But what do you think now of all these new movies that are coming out? Anything that will stand the test of time?
I haven't been keeping up lately, to be honest. Really, I haven't seen a lot of the recent ones. The one I was really interested in that I still haven't seen yet is The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh yes, that came and went. I wanted to go see that in the theater, and
Yeah.
it seems like
That-
nothing is the theater is like not as good as it. Not as good. Nothing is lasting in the theaters. It seems like it's only 2 weeks that it's out if it doesn't make its money. So I don't have a chance to see it.
I'm really interested in seeing that. But the other thing for me, though, over the past, 5 or 8 years or something, it's like I feel like we're living in a golden age of like old, weird, obscure movies getting really high quality releases on Blu-ray. So I've been watching like old stuff that's been coming out, including stuff I never saw before. And I've found a lot of new favorites that are old things made before my time, but they were just things that never had a wide release until the last few years. And now
Yep. Bryan gave me a bunch of movies. I watched the trilogy, the Hammer films. Why can't I think of the name?
the Karnstein trilogy.
Yeah, the Karnstein trilogy. It was excellent.
Yeah. The Vampire Lovers, The Lust for a Vampire, and Twins of Evil.
I watched them all. They were excellent, and I remember seeing them as a kid. I remember watching a lot of horror. For some reason, it seemed like after church, as funny as it is, after church on Sundays, it was horror movie time and we watch all the Hammer films. But man, I don't remember all the skin and blood that I guess was edited out on Channel 9 Sunday mornings at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I know you already know about this, but for your viewers, you just brought up another one of my obsessions. So I saw Twins of Evil probably earlier than I should have. And so female vampires in see-through nightgowns became a thing in my comics. So yeah, that is one of the obsessive side issues that comes up a lot.
Draw your fetishes, right? Marcus, I forget that Marcus lived in New York on WPIX Channel 11. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they would have the 4:30 movie after school. And I remember like, I remember running home, but I got plenty of time to walk home, and, it would be like Monster Week, and then sometimes it was Shark Week and Godzilla. You're also, I mean, Godzilla is part of horror monster movies, right? You're a Godzilla fan also.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Hold that thought. Hold that
thought. So since we talk about that, did anybody in the chat see Godzilla -1? I was going to go see it this weekend, but I forgot that my wife and I are going to go see something. Oh, look at that.
I just got this. This is a Japanese figure of Godzilla 1974 as he looked in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
I remember the face. Yes.
This is one of my favorite Godzilla figures I've ever got. The beautiful thing about this, it is a beautiful, perfect sculpture of an imperfect thing. Because they actually sculpted all of the flaws of the suit into the figure, like the weird folds in the tail,
right?
The one little wonky finger. Where is it? Right here, right there. Oh, that last little wonky finger that he had in the movie. Like they put in all the imperfections of the suit.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, I guess it's a tendency to want to clean up things and make them perfect, but
instead they made it screen accurate. I mean, look at those teeth.
Yeah,
and the eyes.
And that right here where your finger's touching on its like stomach.
Yeah,
that must have been some sort of a brace inside the costume from keeping it from falling apart.
It's all rumpled. I am in love with this figure. I got it very recently. It's up on the shelf right next to the door when I walk in and out of my office, and just makes me smile every single time I walk in and out of this room.
Did you see Godzilla?
Had to show them off.
Did you see Godzilla -1?
Shamefully, no.
No,
I just
neither
didn't.
did I. I'll do you one worse. I've never seen a Godzilla movie. I would watch the fight, and then go on. So I never sat and saw a Godzilla movie from beginning to end. I take it back. I saw the original Godzilla movie. I rented it just because I was like, I got to see it. And I got to start at the beginning. When they
you don't have to start at the beginning.
Yeah, I know. That's the way I am. So I liked the Godzilla fight scenes. So like if on the 4:30 movie, like I'd be playing with my toys. Oh, they're fighting. Watch that. But I didn't want to hear about the humans talking or anything like that. So and I definitely didn't see the American ones with what's his Ferris Bueller. I was like, I don't like that actor, so I didn't want to see that.
But the old 60s and 70s ones, even the human as an adult who knows better,
Raymond Burr, yeah.
even the human stories have a certain appeal because the bad dubbing just makes them hysterically amusing. So I find them fun, and it's like it doesn't make any logistical sense, but it makes sense like in the way that a child would play with their toys, kind of logic. Like the naivete of it is endearing.
Like
So
you said,
I love them.
it's flawed because it's obviously a guy in a suit, and the buildings are obviously cardboard and stuff. But
Yeah.
like I said, I don't believe it, but I want to believe it. That there's a charm to that.
Have you interviewed well, yeah, I mean, part of the charm of it too is like the childhood, like, oh, cool, wouldn't it be neat to wear a big rubber monster suit and smash model buildings? Like that's part of it too, the appeal of it. But have you ever interviewed Frankie B. Washington? He
Yeah,
is
he's been on. He's been on.
Oh, okay, I wondered because he
Love
is
Frankie.
yeah, he is the giant
He has a
monster
comic
kaiju
called
movie guy.
Kaijus and Cowboys.
Yeah.
I got it right over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I love Godzilla movies, but he loves Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
He can tell you all about them.
Man, it's just a blast. Frankie was on. The guy just like smiled through an hour talk, talking about drawing, and his artwork is believe it, like it's like psychedelic kaiju. Something
Yeah.
Yeah.
His colors are amazing.
Yeah, his colors are good. Kaijus and Cowboys. Yes, Pops. That's
his artwork captures the spirit of the way Godzilla toys and Godzilla movies felt to me when I was a kid. I'm talking in the late 70s when cartoons like Mazinger Z were on TV, and even Voltron or Ultraman type stuff. He something about the way they did the colors, and the way he puts it in his artwork. Yeah. He makes it feel like I don't know. I love his stuff.
Yeah, I love. Again, I love Frankie, and I love his comics too. He's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You just brought up Mazinger, which is one of the Shogun Warriors. Do you remember? I forget what they were. Like they were like 2 foot tall plastic toys, and then they had a Godzilla, and his fist would launch. Yeah, don't tell me you got that right next to you.
I have a picture. So the Shogun Warriors Godzilla, that was like my big birthday present in 1977, and I have a picture of me with it. In fact, there was a conversation that came up today on Twitter where I actually posted that picture. It's funny you brought it up. Yeah,
it had a lever in the back of its head. You pushed the lever, and its it was tongue, but it was supposed to be fire.
Yeah, it made the fire come out. Absolutely. Yeah. Christmas 77, Star Wars toys hadn't come out yet. They didn't come out till the following Christmas. So that summer, the big toy to get was the Shogun Warriors Godzilla.
I had Mazinger, Dragoon, and Raideen.
Oh wow! Okay, you had Dragoon. That's the one I was jealous of.
I love them all. Dragoon had like
the red one.
Yeah, he had like this device on his arm, and you'd pull it, and it would fire like plastic shurikens.
Yes.
And then the other hand, maybe I'm mixing them up. I forget. Did he have a sword in the other hand? And I remember Raideen had like a shield with a spike on it, and then the other hand had like fingers that fired missiles. Oh my God, did I play with that? And then the Micronauts came out, so it was always the Micronauts versus the Shogun Warriors because that's what you got to do,
right? Yeah, I think Mazinger had the sword, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He had like a plastic sword that he had like a little hole in his fist, and you jammed it in.
Right.
Raideen had like a little rocket ship that shot out of his chest.
I had Guy King, which was the one with the yellow one with the big devil horns.
Oh man, I never had that one. I don't even think I knew that one existed.
All right, I'm gonna send.
And then the next year, like you said, it was Star Wars toys, and then all that stuff went into the closet, and like the next couple of years, it was Star Wars mania.
Yes,
and it was
with no complaints about that. That was my childhood.
Yeah, I had all 12 of the original action figures, and then what's funny is sooner or later they morphed into superheroes because that's always been my favorite. My first
yeah. I had the Mego.
Oh my God!
Figures.
Oh my God. This
I sent you a
picture.
picture in your. I sent you
Yeah,
a picture in your
that's what I'm
DMs.
saying. Oh my God, too. I'm showing this picture.
There you go.
Look at that. Look
That's
at
me.
that.
That's me on my birthday in 1977 when Godzilla was my Shogun Warriors. Godzilla was my big toy that year.
And you know what I like? Be over your shoulder. You could see your dad, I guess,
Yes.
taking the picture.
Yep.
And I'm looking at all this. I'm looking at the chair. I remember those chairs. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What is it about 1977? Like I guess the photograph maybe decayed or the film stock decayed, but they all have that what is it, like a sepia tone?
Yeah.
That is
It's like
awesome.
probably just faded, I guess.
I love that.
I
I love that. That was awesome. Thanks for
thought
sharing.
you'd like that. And look how much I've grown up. The one I just showed.
Yeah, well, you could have taken a picture of yourself with Godzilla now.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Get the haircut, take that picture again.
Right.
Oh, speaking of monsters, Pops is going to show up for a couple of minutes.
Oh, cool. Hello.
Now, let me do this properly. Have you two ever been introduced? I just let you and Marcus talking without realizing that you didn't know each other. Pops, have you met Bryan before?
No, I seen him. I mean, I'm a fan.
Awesome.
Okay, but I seen he posted on Twitter asking about being on shows, and of course,
Yeah. I thought it would be fun to have like fans or other pros pop in and talk.
And I wanted to come in and introduce myself because he is going to be on Monday Madness on the 26th.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I have to check the dates on that. Okay, but let me get back to you on that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we just there's so many shows on our network. We're going to find some place for you, no doubt. Okay?
Awesome. Okay. Cool.
We got a lot of different things that we do, but I wanted to come out. I wanted to say,
yep, Pops loves comics.
Yeah,
you know,
Sir.
I gotta say that there's a lot of people that say they like comics. Pops got, first off, he's got a spooky little skull floating over there behind him that I just noticed that kind of gives me freaks.
He's been on the cover of a comic.
What is that?
This is the
Don't touch it. You might
stick I used on Halloween when I was Alice Cooper.
Oh
Okay?
yeah.
I hosted a show as Alice Cooper. This is Joe. Okay. And we call him Joe because we don't know. It could be Joe Mama, Joe Brother, we don't know, right? So a friend of mine, Doran Corkum, Whitefire Comics, has a comic called Quint, and he put this actual stick and skull on the cover of the comic.
Nice.
That's like, this dude got a cover before I did. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
But you bring up stuff, and I just got to talk about stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see, Pops puts his money where his mouth is. He loves comics. You know, he's doing Sundays. You do the show offs where you show off comics from your collection, right? What are you doing this Sunday?
We're doing more indies.
More indies.
I think it'll be the last day of the indie run for a while. We've done like 4
You keep inviting me on, but Sundays is the one day a week I actually like get to sit down and write. And next thing I know, my wife is calling me for dinner, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Sunday is actually a wide open show. Anybody that wants to come out, that whatever the topic is, they want to come out and show their stuff off, bring it. That's the whole point, you know. But every title you bring up, I'm gonna pull something out because I'm like, dude, John, it's like I love this stuff. I
missed this comment.
Stuff I love. You know,
Marcus got the Micronauts.
Yeah.
Speaking of Frankie B. Washington, we were talking about his love of the Shogun Warriors comics, you know, and one thing I liked a lot of things about Frankie, but one thing that stood out was he kept talking about Herb Trimpe, who is a favorite comic book artist of mine that people don't seem to remember and then don't give him the respect and love that he deserved. Yeah, so it was really fun to hear Frankie going on and on and on about somebody that, like, everybody talks about, and justifiably so, everybody talks about Frank Miller and Jack Kirby and John Buscema, but to hear Frankie talk like 40 minutes about Herb Trimpe was really cool. A guy who does.
The funniest part about all that is when I was a kid and started reading comics, I didn't look at a credits page, man.
No.
I I did not care who wrote it. I did not care who drew it. If the story was good, I was back next week getting the next
Right.
or next month, whatever. Right? I was
I
getting
don't.
this book.
The funny thing is, I agree with you. I was a little kid. You just bought the comics. Like what
Yeah.
mattered was it said Avengers, it said Fantastic Four, you know. And then when the artists and the writers left, I stayed because I was a fan of the Fantastic Four.
Right.
But I have to. Here's a funny little thing. The first time I started paying attention to the credits was when Steve Ditko returned in the late '80s to Marvel Comics. I hated him so much. I was like, who drew this? Ditko. And I would be like, I got to avoid any Ditko comics in the future. Meanwhile, I had collections of his early Spider-Man work, but
Look,
some kid didn't make the
No,
connection.
right.
It was the same guy.
For me,
You know?
I can tell you exactly who drew my attention to the names instead of the work. I was a Thor fan, obviously, and when Simonson took over the Thor run,
Oh yeah.
it was like, I mean, the story was amazing because it was just offshooting from the actual mythology of the Norse mythology. It was like, oh my God, all these extra stories, right?
Yeah.
When Walt took over, it was like, oh my God, man, this dude gets it.
Yeah.
Stands the Asgardian myth. He
I will go on record to say that is one of the top 5 best comic book runs of all time.
And
Brian, I know you're a monster guy.
names though. When after he was the one that drew my attention to who's doing the work.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Were you into the Walt Simonson Thor run? I know you're a monster.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I like this comment by my buddy Cam. I thought Stan Lee wrote every comic when I was a kid because everything said, yeah.
Yeah.
we knew who Stan was, right? He appeared in everything, right? I mean, Stan's soapbox. He'd make a cover every now and then where it was Stan. Everybody knew who Stan was,
Right.
you know. But come on, who knows who drew Dazzler #1 off the top of your head? Who drew it?
Is it Sal Buscema?
Is it? I don't know. That's what I mean. It's like it doesn't.
It wasn't Steve Leahola, was it?
No.
No.
I mean, there's them stories and titles where the guy doing the work stood out, but it wasn't until the Simonson run that I even paid attention.
Pops, you made me think of a good question. What comic book artist would you say inspired your art, Brian?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, first I'll say this: the first artist where I looked at their work and it made me flip to the front of the book to go, who drew this?
Yeah.
And learn the name was the Creep Show comic book in 1982, and of course it was Bernie Wrightson.
Right.
And that's the first time I read his name and memorized it. But of course, before I had issues of House of Mystery, House of Secrets that he'd done the covers on before that. But I just didn't make the connection until the Creep Show.
That's what I mean. It's like you didn't when we were young, we didn't care.
Right.
No. Yeah.
You know, now in the digital age where we can meet you guys.
Right. Yeah.
Now it matters.
Yeah.
Now it matters who's doing this work, a lot more than it did back then. Because back then they were names. They could have been pen names. Who the hell knows, right?
Yeah.
Unless you met him at a convention.
Was John Byrne was the first comic book artist that I call myself a fanboy of. Like and I remember going to a convention, believe it or not, it was Walt Simonson and John Byrne on a panel together. What a great panel that was.
Mm-hmm.
And John Byrne said that his sales would jump 40,000. So he called it the John Byrne 40,000 that would follow him around, So when he went from Fantastic Four to Avengers or whatever, back and forth, the sales would go up. And I was like, I'm part of the John Byrne 40,000.
I didn't answer your other question.
I'm sorry. I talked too much.
I sort of jumped over and talked about something else, but my fault. But you said who influenced my artwork. I would say the 4 guys I always bring up is Bernie Wrightson, Graham Ingalls.
Okay.
Graham Ingalls probably more than Wrightson even as I've gotten older because Wrightson's style is so him. You know what I mean? It's like whereas Graham Ingalls is just doing crazy stuff with the brush, and I can try to emulate that. You know what I mean? So I get an education every time I look at Graham Ingalls stuff. Third guy I always think of is Jordy Bernay. He's the Spanish artist that does Torpedo 1936.
Yeah, you pointed him out to me. I didn't know that name until I forget if we were live or just talking privately. You know, great artist.
I first saw his stuff when I was in college, and I moved away from my little hometown off to the big city of Columbus, Ohio. And they actually had a really great art scene there with lots of really weird underground comic book stores. And there was this one store called Monkey's Retreat, and they had tons of European comics. And so they had the European albums of Torpedo 1936 from Spain, drawn by Jordi Bernay. And I was really into crime movies and stuff like that. So when I saw that, I was just like, wow, you know, I had to have them. So I bought them all. And then the fourth guy I always think of is Richard Sala.
Oh, yeah.
From Fantagraphics, the guy that did
you made me a fan of his. Man, that comic is so good. Evil Eye, yeah. So good.
It's a little bit of an acquired taste, but it's something about the simplicity of his stuff and also the mentality, like the stuff he's obsessed with that he puts in his comics.
You got me. You recommended Evil Eye and Richard Sala to me, and then I went out of my way to get it. And then I looked the guy up, and I found out that he had passed away a couple of years before. And I got like sad. I'm like, oh man, I thought, you know.
Now you got to go back and try and find all this stuff, but there ain't gonna be no new stuff, and that's
right.
Yeah, but you could get, anybody's interested, you could go to Fantagraphic Books and get a collection of all the Evil Eyes. I totally recommend it. Would you say this is a fair description? It's Wolf and Batsy meets Love and Rockets.
Oh, Peculiar, you mean?
Yeah. The whole Evil Eye comic.
Evil Eye, yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and the funny thing is, I've talked about this before, but I had just created Wolf and Batsy when I went to the comic book store and saw the Evil Eye books for the first time. And there were things in Wolf and Batsy I was kind of struggling with just figuring out how to do. And when I looked at Richard Sala's comics, it was the Peculiar stories that he did. There were just things in there just opened my brain up and made me go, oh, that's a way to handle that. That's a way to solve that. And I sort of followed his example on certain things. And
now, when you talk about,
and I remember now where the conversation with why can't I think of his name again? Jordi Bernay. I did a video of Vampire Tales #1, a Marvel comic, a magazine.
Yes.
And he had done the illustrations in one of the stories, and you messaged me and we talked about that. Then I had to look up this artist. Yeah.
The funny thing is,
one of the reasons I promote new people coming in is because we're getting older, guys. All the people we loved are passing away, and they're not putting out nothing new. And we got to find the young guys to come in and fill this void, right? And this is one of the reasons I look for new first timers, for new comic book creators to come out and promote, because man, somebody's got to fill this void. There's going to be a huge void over the next few years as some of these greats,
especially with the fans. Little kids aren't reading comics. I think we.
That's why I love this dude. What he's doing. My grandkids can.
Well, my response to this kind of ties in with Frank Kepler. We're not getting older because we drink human blood. You know, and young. So yes, there are not only actual werewolves, but there's actual vampires. No, Frank Kepler asked, I'm late to the party. Do these believe there are actual werewolves? I do, though. I haven't seen. I like to believe, like there's got to be aliens. I butchered up that question, but I'm sure. I'll say I don't believe in anything unless I could prove it. I'm a very skeptical person by nature, but I think it would be cool if there was. Wouldn't it be cool if there were elves and fairies? And
I'll give you a different take.
There's got to be aliens, but are they visiting us in saucers? I don't know.
I will give you a different take on that. We would be awfully arrogant to think that we are the only sentient beings in all of the cosmos.
Right.
Okay?
That's I said that's the logical answer. But until I could measure it with the tape
measure. The lizard people are here, John. You know it. It's okay to admit it, bro.
but Bryan,
haven't you seen V?
What's that?
Haven't you seen V? The lizard people in the sky.
People are here, man.
They're definitely fairies. I've met my share. What about you, Bryan? I think I know the answer to. I think I know what you're going to say about this. As far as monsters, what do you think?
Who, me?
Yeah, Bryan.
Oh man.
Putting him on the spot here.
Well, I know there are serial killers.
Right. Human monsters, we all agree, are real.
That's
yeah.
bad enough.
Mhm.
I think a castle full of vampires is downright cozy compared to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny how some of the most horrible legends are based on real people,
Right.
like Vlad.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I think we talked about this before one time, John. I think where I've read some stuff where some of the criminal profiler guys that study the serial killers have the theory that maybe the stories of werewolves and vampires were created to
Yeah.
explain the behavior of serial killers in an age when they didn't understand that psychology.
Oh, absolutely.
How could someone do things like that? You know.
To tell a personal story, like when my mother and my grandmother, before they passed away, they got dementia. And I remember my mother looking me in the eyes and talking nonsense. And I was just like, this is where people, demonic possession, in the Middle Ages, when somebody like got dementia or whatever, this is, or they had a stroke and started, how can you explain the personality? So I mean, it was scary. And of course it was sad because it was my mother, and then like, just imagine you're in 16th century France, you go into the well to get some water and you meet somebody with Tourette syndrome.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how do they explain that? And I know that in ancient Greece, there was tribes that would wear wolf furs, and tell people that they transformed into wolves. You know what I mean? And people believed it. And then the ancient Greeks, I forget what tribe it was, but they said that these people rode their horses from the childhood, that they were one with their horse, and that started the centaurs, And I imagine there was beautiful naked women running around through the summertime in Greece that became nymphs. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So yes. But what about Bigfoot?
I think Pops was trying to show us something there. What do you got?
Yeah, he knows. It's Fun My Comic, bro.
Yeah.
It's where you're at, man.
Yep. Fun My Comic, which is where you could find Wolf and Batsy right now. There you go. $40 for every issue, and you'll sign them too.
Yes, they're signed. They
none
won't be.
of the ones I got are signed. Can I send you the number one? Have you signed it? You send it back?
Sure. Or I'll just send you a new one. I can send you a new one.
It's cheaper just to buy another one, for number one. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'll send you a new one. I'll sign it. Sure.
Yeah, there's a few I need still to build the whole thing. Somehow I missed 5 and 6. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I got them.
I'll figure. I'm gonna have them all because
they're good.
I like people that put out books that you can get the next one in some kind of a timely manner, and the next one, and then I like that about comics. That's the way it was when we grew up. We got the next one the next month, if not in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We didn't have to wait forever. So when I see people that are putting out books like you, like Carissa, that are putting them out and putting them out and putting them out, I get way behind that, dude.
Oh man, thanks. That's awesome.
That's a good point. It hasn't been that. It seems like I just got Wolf and Batsy #1, and here we are talking about issue 12 coming out.
I had a head start because some of the early stories are reprinted from my old self-published work. So I had a lot of catch-up time there in which to do some news stories and put them out. But so I made things a little easier for myself. But I do like to put them out on a regular basis if I can.
Now, the other person I mentioned, Carissa, Carissa Grant from Worthy Chaos, the sign up for number 9 just went up. She started about 14 or 15 months ago. That's when I met her. Yep, number 1, about 14, 15 months ago. Number 9 is going into crowdfunding right now, but she is done all the way up through 12.
She's a machine. I
Dude,
just had
they're putting out books, man. They're Kickstarter's waiting on them. You see what I'm saying? It's not the other way around. They're waiting for a campaign to get over. They ship right away. They go right into the next campaign.
I just backed her. I backed, and it seems like I got the comics like within a couple of weeks. She's
nice.
Right away, dude. She goes into fulfillment the day after the campaign ends because she buys it. She pays for everything up front.
Yeah.
She's ready to ship the day the campaign ends. And then it goes right into the sign up for the next one. Give it a couple weeks, bam, that campaign starts. You get that.
Nice.
It's just been like clockwork. I love what she's doing.
That's the way to do it. Yeah,
I
that's
see this book 10, 11, 12. I like what you're doing. That's what I want to do.
I'm putting up all yours.
awesome.
So we've been talking for an hour, Brian. Do you want to keep going? Do you want to stop? I always try to give everybody a fair out, you know.
Well, I haven't had dinner yet.
Yeah, me too. I was going to ask if anybody heard that growling. That was actually my stomach. I was like, if you saw me before, I went like this because I was like, oh my God, everybody just heard my stomach growling. And then you didn't hear it, and now I'm talking about it.
I was just sitting downstairs when I seen you had the StreamYard link over there, and I was like, shit, I'm going to have to go out and talk to these guys. So, yeah.
So we'll give another round of your links. Of course, Fund My Comic. It's live right now. Let's you know, I told Brian, I said, you'll get to 5,000. Don't worry about it, but this is a great comic. This is exactly what crowdfunding is. And
I hope so. That would be so cool.
Now, do you have all the previous issues as add-ons, or are they all available on the campaign?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And also on my website as well, on my website store, if you want to go there, you can get them individually.
All right. Well,
So
I know
like
what
you,
I do.
like you said, you only need 5 and 6. You can order them on my website.
All right. One of the things I do is one of the very few people that actually do a show that features Fund My Comic and the campaigns on it. So Monday we'll be talking about this too.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I already did a test batch. I was explaining this earlier of issue 10 and 11.
Nice.
I love that. I love both the covers, but I really love 11. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that cover.
So I just wanted to test out my printer and make sure they did quality work before I did this before I even launched the campaign, just to make sure. Got proof copies, but I think the black and white printing came out great.
Mm.
And they're not on newsprint. I'm going with a matte white paper, but they fit in they fit the format where they look good in the long box when you put them in your collection and everything.
Cool.
The only thing glaringly different on the front will be this little publishing label right here. So,
and I love that. I love that drawing. I showed it to my wife. She was like, "Brian drew that when he was like 4 years old, 5
probably
years old."
5, yeah.
I love that. I keep threatening. I found a box of comics that me and my friends drew when we were in 3rd grade, and I keep threatening I'm going to do a showcase video on my own comics.
I'll tell you a little secret. That's one project I've been thinking about doing because I did find all this old childhood stuff, and I have comics I drew in high school and college and stuff like that. I was thinking about making a little trade paperback of just all my early stuff leading up to Wolf and Batsy with a little like 1 page of explanation of what led up to me doing this story.
That would be a cool add-on, like a art book or something like that, you know, for your next campaign.
I was thinking it might be interesting to people who like Wolf and Batsy to kind of see the background.
And also, I got to ask, any plans to bring back Tales from Blue Shoggoth?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No.
But it's not out of the question.
Well, I never say never, but the problem is I've just come to learn how long it takes to do these projects and how little time there is when it's not your full-time day job.
Right.
You know what I mean? And also I have a kid, so that doesn't help with the free time situation. So I just have to be realistic and choose my battles. So I pretty much chalk up the Tales from Blue Shoggoth as an amateur project I did. It was my first attempt to do a comic and self-publish way back in 95, 96. And we did these little ash cans and sold them at Chicago Comic-Con, and it was cool, and I learned a lot from it. But my heart is not with those characters anymore. You know, it was a good training ground, but who knows? Maybe someday I'll knock out the last chapter and finish it. But
I got to ask you this as a monster expert, as a resident. So watching the Munsters, Herman Munster, is it possible for a Frankenstein's creation and a female vampire to have a child that is a werewolf?
You know, Lily was messing around, man.
Right.
Come on.
That's what I was getting at. I got to talk to the monster expert over here. What's going on?
John, you want to see what I'm working on right now?
Well, let Brian answer.
I don't have an answer. I never thought about that. Honestly, I never thought about that. I love the Munsters, but I never thought about that. Honestly,
Isn't it freaky to see them in color?
Yes.
When you see the promos of them in color, it freaks me out.
The colorized Munsters is weird. Yes.
Well, they did a movie that was in full color in the 60s. Munsters Go Home.
Yeah, and it freaks me out. It's not. It doesn't. It's not
weird.
Right.
It's weird.
And what? I guess last question. Oh, well, Pop's got something to say, but let me ask you this: what do you like better, the Munsters or the Addams Family? They're always compared to each other.
Easy, the Munsters.
I like the Addams Family better, but I will say Herman Munster is one of the top 10 best television characters of all time. He's up there.
I like the Munsters better, but I like Morticia better.
I get that. I get that. I do get that. But I like the Munsters better because it was more visual. I'm into visual.
Yeah,
they looked more like monsters. They had the dragon that lived under the stairs. They had
the really haunted looking house, and the Addams Family had the nice house, right?
Yeah, and it was filmed on the Universal lot, so they could have the creature from the Black Lagoon as Uncle Gil, and and I loved Zombo. I mean, who doesn't love Zombo?
What was Zombo?
You don't remember Zombo?
No.
He looked like a cross between an evil wizard and Lon Chaney Sr. in London After Midnight. He had the long hair, but he had the wizard hat, and he had the claw hands, and he was Eddie Munster's hero, and he was a TV host.
Oh, wow.
It's one of the best episodes.
I'm sure if I saw it, I would recognize it. And
again, pull up Munster's Zombo.
if we're comparing Lily and Morticia, then I got to ask Marianne or Ginger.
Oh, Marianne, of course.
Marianne, absolutely Marianne. I had a manager at AT&T that looked like Eddie Munster. Poor guy.
I met Eddie Munster at a convention once. Butch Patrick, super nice guy.
Yeah,
that was really cool. The one thing the thing I want from the Munsters though is his Wolfie doll.
Yeah.
I always wanted one of those.
I have a friend. His name was John also, and that was when he was a little kid. He said, "I want every year for Christmas or his birthday, he wanted a Wolfie." And the parents were like all over the place trying to get a Wolfie doll. And he never got one. To the point when he was an adult, he was very creative. He made one for himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was a company some years ago, there was a company that made a replica, an exact replica of it. And it was like really high priced, like ridiculously high priced, but I was tempted.
Betty or Veronica, since we're doing the either or now.
Well, Veronica's the brunette, right?
Yeah, Betty's the blonde. Veronica's the rich.
Veronica, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And look, I'm going to take Wilma over Betty. I'm going to take Ginger over Marianne. I like redheads, so I got this thing.
The evidence that I give that Marianne is better is the episode when Marianne thinks she's Ginger. And she wears Ginger's outfits. She looks dynamite, and Ginger looks frumpy as Marianne.
Oh wow!
So
Marianne looks frumpy as Marianne. Come on.
I definitely prefer Daphne over Velma.
So you guys are talking about monsters, and the work I'm doing right now involves a RPG called Slaughterville. Nice. I'm proofreading the rule book. It's my first actual, job in the industry. I'm proofreading this rule book and the storybooks that are done so far, right?
So this is the game. This is actual project that you're working on for like a legit job. Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I'm proofreading these books right now. But this is also the game that we're airing every Friday morning. Chris Brown, the guy who created it, is the GM. Lori Calcaterra from Path of the Pale Rider. She's playing. I'm playing. Jeff Bracey from the Comic Crusaders. He's playing. This is a great game. It's a comic book. It's a tabletop game. It's also a role-playing game.
Cool.
Chris has some awesome stuff going on here, guys, and we're gonna be talking a lot about it this year. Okay, but this right here, it's my first real job in the industry doing something for somebody else, right? It's like I'm proofreading somebody's stuff. Cool. So there's a reason for that.
Cool.
Errors, misspelled words, errors like jump off the page at me like they're bold, italicized, underlined, and in a completely different font. It's like errors just jump at me and it takes me out of the story, right? So I offered my services as proofreader because I don't like that to happen. You know, and I have proofread for stuff for people before, but not like as a job, not as like somebody hired me on to do it. So I'm really paying really close attention to this. I'm gonna have fun doing this.
Nice.
But the story, the stuff, the games, awesome.
Bryan, I want to. I was playing a horror themed board game called Final Girl. I don't know if you.
Yeah.
You're not a board game guy, huh?
No, not really. But you did tell me about this before. I mean, you showed me some of the artwork. It looked really cool.
Yeah, I'll probably break it again. I'm off for a month, so I'll probably do it again. But I was just curious if you saw it or not. I think you'd get a kick out of it. Because
I got to get you a copy of Slaughterville of the game. I got to get you the games, the board game, the tabletop, so that you can check it out. You're gonna love it, John. I guarantee it.
A real board game, not a role playing game.
No, there's all three. You got graphic novels based on the town. You have a tabletop game based on the town, and you have a role playing game based on the town. It's like, dude's taking it next level. It ain't just a comic book, guys. It's an interactive world you can be part of. You know,
Bryan, there's a board game called now I can't, Horrified, and it's the Universal monsters are non-player characters, and we all the players are on one team, so it's a cooperative game where you got to beat the Universal monsters. So there's rules for the Invisible Man. You play with one monster at a time. So every time you play it, there's completely different rules.
Yeah,
for
that's pretty much what Slaughterville is.
The werewolf, how to beat Frankenstein, and how to beat Dracula. And then I'm sure you'd get a kick out of it. They made American version with cryptids, with Bigfoot, Mothman, and other monsters.
Okay, now take Slaughterville, and you got Jason, and you got.
You don't care if other people are talking, huh? They made a third version of Greek mythology, so I got to get all three of these games. Go ahead, Pops.
Yeah, Slaughterville's the same way, but it's like your Jason, your Freddy, your movie villains, right? Not your monsters, but your movie villains, and they're different settings. That's what Slaughterville is. But of course, you can't use Jason unless you pay $25,000.
Yeah,
so you call him John, right?
That's like Final Girl. It's not Jason, it's Hans, but you know who it is. It's not Freddy Krueger. It's the Frightmare villain or something.
Right,
like
right.
All right. Well, again, my stomach is freaking growling. So werewolf, Bryan, let's put up your links one more time.
Okay.
We got Wolf and Batsy 10, 11, 12. At my brain just went blank for a complete second. Wolf and Batsy at Fund My Comic 10, 11, 12, $15. Bryan will autograph them, and for $40, I still say this: it's the best deal in comic books. You can get every issue, 1 to 12. How many other comics can you get 12 comics for $40? That's awesome.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
And get killed. Get killed by Wolf and Batsy. I think that is most creative tier offering ever.
Yeah, I'd love to sell a few more of those. That would be fun to do. I think do a series of those for people that are really into the book, you know.
And I'm looking back to see if there's any more links. Oh, we got Bryan Baugh.net. Oh, it's up there already. Duh.
Yeah,
on
the website.
Yep. So thanks a lot. We're gonna end now because I'm starting to get the really bad. I haven't eaten since breakfast today.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah. No.
I've had a long day too,
Bryan.
man.
I will talk to you soon, man.
Okay. All right. Good to see you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Peace.